Hello and welcome to my introductory presentation for aeS, a learning game for SDG 14. 14 aims to conserve and sustainably use the oceans. Primarily, I want to create an education game for children to make them more aware and active in the community as we clean up the oceans and how they as individuals can participate, even though they're young. So in that, my vision is to create a learning platform that holds users' attention with fun and interesting games. Primarily, the primary game should be a learning multiplayer game, something that encourages community interaction and makes them realize what a larger scale group of people can do, even though their contributions are minimal. That's something I think current games don't do. Obviously, because it's a multiplayer game, it would encourage daily visits, which would then allow us to impart further learning opportunities like reading, additional resources, activities, like a Twitter feed of daily events. I also want it to be a browser game, not strictly a mobile game, because I don't think browser games reach students effectively in the current classroom climate. So the reason why I want to make a game, first of all, let's get over, there are hundreds of games out there already about clean living, sustainability, recycling, but they all follow a very archetypal pattern, which is X goes into Y, Y goes into B, etc., etc. And they're all personal experiences. So it's a tour, or the user goes through something and they adventure, and then they're done. And there's often no replayability either. And I don't think that assists in user retention, nor does it assist with the retention of fact. If the user isn't coming back, then they're not going to continue learning, nor are they going to hold on to what we tried to teach them through the game, because most of the games will have fun, quiz, right? And most of the games, I don't think, do this effectively. Also, because Adobe Flash is gone, there's limited browser-based options as is, and from what I could tell, the mobile selection was fun but lacked the education, so there's a balance that we do have to meet there. Furthermore, there are 0 multiplayer games, at least SDG 14 specific multiplayer games that encourage togetherness and community collective change. So I think because of that, the state of technology is stagnant. There are no new games, there's no unique games, all the games do the same thing, and they follow the same tropes. Furthermore, so many games, so many links on old EPA sites, old National Geographic sites are broken because of Flash. Speaking to the platform that the game is on, I don't think putting them on tablets is reaching kids because, first of all, 20% of students use tablets, 42% use smartphones, and 48% use desktops, which I'm assuming includes laptops. So with that altogether, most teachers have something like a laptop cart or a tablet cart, and I don't think it's possible to expect the IT guy to throw on a bunch of learning games just because the teacher asks, right? It's a shared computer. It's much more accessible for teachers if it's a game that all they need is Chrome to access, and the kids can just be, teacher says to kids do it, that they don't have to install anything, up and go, easy peasy, right? So I think it's a much more tailored and reachable experience if it's a web-based activity like DFIO or something, or Agar.io. So obviously I've protested this already. I think the games are a bad combination of learning and gameplay loops. Some do it really well, some do it really poorly. The ones that do it well, again, they're one-offs. They don't encourage kids to come back. It's not like the best game in the world. I'll get into some good games though in a sec. So in terms of impact, well, we've seen what this impact can have before in a game called Curiosity. The problem with Curiosity is that it showed what individuals can do, but it didn't show like it didn't do anything with that. It just said a lot of people can get together and mine a cube, right? But it didn't say, well, now you guys should get together and clean up trash. It's the same. It's in effect the same thing. And there are applications that actually do that. Scorekeeping apps that let you compete with others as you clean up trash. It's really cool. So part of the inspiration for my idea is this game, mainly because they have a great idea, but they didn't do anything with the reward. What they did when you got to the end of the cube was they announced a game, and then they gave a certain percentage of the game's proceeds to the lucky individual who hit the last block. And that's like, you have this profound message of what a community can do together. How do you tie that into sustainability and community activism, right? So obviously, I think that this would encourage different types of learning game development. It would encourage a system that brings students back so that we can educate them further. And then with repetition comes actual memorization and appreciation and action. And that's what these games should be, is they should be calls to action. And visually, because like the cube, we can teach children the scale of waste and also teach children the scale of the impact that they in a group can have. Obviously, if it was popular enough and we had a store for upgrades and abilities, we could then benefit charities, and there isn't a single game that is wholly developed for a nonprofit, where all proceeds of an MMO or whatever go, except for paying staff, go to a charity. No game is made exclusively for that purpose. I don't think I'll get there with this project, but it's an interesting goal, and this should encourage others to do that, or perhaps inspire. So the audience is students and children. I think not teachers, because this is something that students should want to do at home as well. It shouldn't be something that the teacher forces them to play. And then obviously activists and adults. Like activists, if they're hosting an event, could say, hey, while we're having intermission, go play this game. And adults, because it piqued their curiosity. In general, the community should foster individuals into an attitude that would make active change in their communities as groups, right? And will provide resources to applications that facilitate that real change. So as I said, the game should be a call to action, not a means of action. In terms of constraints, I'm really concerned about resources and the quality of gameplay. So if we can't make the game really fun, then we won't retain users. If we don't have users, then we won't be able to aid charities, and we won't have the retention we want to actually educate those users. And then we'll end up like every other game that's been out all the time, that everyone plays once and no one learns from. I will show one great example of an independent game, which is a satire of McDonald's, obviously. And throughout the game, it teaches you the impact of your horrible monopoly. It allows you to perform unethical things to cows and land and personal land, etc., etc. So I think this is a great example of an independent game, but the problem here is that it doesn't really provide much resources outside of the satire, and it doesn't really provide a call to action. It's just a game. That concludes my presentation. Thank you for listening. I apologize for getting long, but I had to rant. Thank you.